The president plans to sign his massive infrastructure into law on Monday. And a recent Monmouth University poll found 62% of adults say they believe President Biden has not been able to deliver on his promise to get Washington, D.C. working. That same poll puts the president's job approval rating at 42%, disapproval at 50%. So we're taking a look, and they're all hovering between 37 and 42, 43. They're low. Let's bring back Ari Fleischer, Fox News contributor, former White House press secretary, and let's get into the nitty-gritty of how you go forth as the president of the United States when you're just about to get your first win and your progressives are saying, yeah, don't pay any attention to that shiny object. They didn't get what they wanted.
You know, Harris, the fault in the thinking here is that the infrastructure bill that the president will sign is a win. It's not. It's business as usual. Building highways and roads and bridges and construction projects is taken for granted. This is what the American people expect their government to do. You can go back in time. You're not going to find any instance of previous presidents who signed major legislation like this that politically boosted them. It's something taken for granted by the country, but for some reason, people in Washington engaged in wishful thinking think this is a political boost for the president. It's not going to translate that way.
That's really interesting. And nor will the fact that the president keeps saying that you'll feel something immediate if his bigger spending bills pass or legislative agenda passes. Because when you look at where inflation is, Ari, that doesn't sound like that would be true either.
Well, I do think from a Democratic point of view, if now the president's gigantic spending spree, which is essentially a huge redistribution of income scheme along with a lot of corporate welfare, if that passes, that will mean money goes to a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons. Will that politically benefit the president? It likely will, because it's a progressive dream come true. There's a philosophical new part of that about really having the government take over people's lives and pay them to do things. So I think if that passes, that would politically be a boost for the president, unlike what I predict.
But what about the rest of us with the price of stuff? That's what I'm talking about.
Well, then you get into everything else that's going on and why the president's numbers are so low. The American people are judging him and saying, number one, he's not competent, and number two, things are just going badly in the United States of America. It's a terrible double whammy that's hitting him right now. And if you look at it, Harris, the president said that inflation was transitory, but it's not. The president said that immigration, illegal immigration, was seasonal, but it isn't. The president said he'd bring home all Americans from Afghanistan, but he didn't. And the president keeps saying these things that turn out to be false. He said we're not going to pay, it's garbage, that we're paying illegal immigrants who come to America whose children were separated. But we are. Time after time after time, he says things that turn out not to be true, as if he has no command of the facts about what his government is doing, all at a time when things are getting worse and worse for the American people in terms of inflation, in terms of the direction of the country. That's the double whammy.
Well, and he may soon find himself after the midterm elections at a standstill, because we've seen what that looks like. Bicameral majority in one party, president in another. If he thinks it's difficult now, if he can't wrangle the cats in his own little herd of cats, if you will, with Democrats fighting each other, let's get into that as quickly as we can. The president is due to give remarks after visiting the tomb of the unknown soldier on this Veterans Day. We will take that as it happens, but let's move to this quickly. The Democrat divide on full display. Some moderate Democrats have given themselves a new label. They are the normal Democrats. Pennsylvania Congressman Connor Lamb tweeted this week, "I'm a normal Democrat who supports jobs and wins elections." Virginia's Abigail Spanberger told the New York Times, "Nobody elected the president to be FDR. They elected him to be normal and stop the chaos." The suggestion there is maybe progressives are abnormal. Well, gosh, that's not breaking news if you're talking to Ari Fleischer. What's going on here?
Yeah, when you have to call yourself normal, it really means we're in abnormal times, aren't we? And this does illustrate the fissure that's developed in the Democratic Party. There are so few moderates left in the party. The split really is between your old classic liberals and your progressive movement. And the progressive movement is just ruining the Democratic Party. It's intolerant, it's anti-free speech, it is dictatorial, it is authoritarian, and it's wacky. Add it all up, that's why the few remaining moderates like to say that they're normal, because they at least represent what a Democratic Party, a blue-collar party used to be. But the Democrats are no longer a blue-collar party. They really are the party of the PhDs, the rich, and the college graduates, the woke.
You know, it's interesting because I took it in a slightly different way. I thought by them saying normal, they meant they were used to winning in, places where it was pretty blue. and that's got to be an out-of-body experience to lose what they just did in Virginia. And I don't know if you caught it just moments ago. The brand new Lieutenant Governor-elect Winsome Sears on with me on this beautiful Veterans Day, and her perspective as a former Marine, although always a Marine. What we just saw there was abnormal for that party to be in that place, in that state, and get it just, taken from them.
What I think those normal Democrats are trying to say is that the Democratic Party is out of touch. They're in touch. The rest of the Democrats are out of touch. I think that's what's driving them to say that.
All right, real quickly, I want to get to the Vice President abroad, Kamala Harris, in a moment that really was embarrassing for her. I don't know if it's embarrassing for the rest of the country, but let's take a peek at this. She seems to come forth with some sort of an accent while she's talking to French scientists at a place where they're talking science. That's like it's not a stand-up comedian zone. Let's watch.
We campaign with the plan. Uppercase T, uppercase P, the plan. We're expected to defend the plan.
What was that?
Oh my. I'm a French minor. I'm a Francophile. I love France. I love the French language. But that was weird. If you can't speak French, don't try. So I really, maybe she was trying to be in touch. I can't explain.
With what?
With a foreign accent?
Oh my goodness.
I don't know.
Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo called the moment humiliating. Watch.
The clip from Vice President Harris is just it's more than embarrassing on the world stage. Our adversaries watch that and see weakness. They see people who aren't serious. They see people who aren't determined, precisely the opposite of what we did for 4 years.
Well, online was really, really tough. One dubbed Kamala Cringe Harris. Another said, I love this episode of Veep. A friend of the show, Joe Concha, tweeted, there really are no words anymore, hashtag au revoir.
Look, I don't want to overstate it. I don't think it was that dramatic a moment, but it was just weird. It was odd. And the problem for Kamala Harris is when she said so few successes as vice president and her popularity is so low, you don't do things that are weird. You don't do things that are odd. To coin a phrase we just talked about, it'd be better if she was just normal.
Wow. So that's interesting, because when you begin to define the boundaries outside of normal for Democrats, you've used words like wacky and weird. And people caught up in that are well-known Democrats like the vice president. How do you go forth with a narrative that sits alongside the action that you aren't accomplishing?
Well, and this is the fundamental flaw of the Biden presidency. He had a mandate to govern up the middle. He had a mandate to follow through on what he said in the State of the Union, that his entire soul was for unity. But then he engaged in polarization by endorsing the progressive agenda and trying to jam it down everybody's throats, where he's struggling to get even his own party on board. He's misread the country. And this has led to his legislative mistakes, which is what's haunting him. He's been an unsuccessful president, and that's what happens when you misread the mood of the country and members of your own party start to say, we're normal because the rest of our party's not. That's where the Democrats and Joe Biden are right now.
Oh, just real quickly, who's running the White House in your estimation? You've been inside. Do you know what it looks like? Is it fair to continue to question that?
Unequivocally, it's Joe Biden. It is.
You think it is?
Absolutely. He sets the tone. He sets the pattern.
Why does he turn his back to the media most of the time when he's with us?
Because he doesn't want to talk to the media, because he's running the show and he gets to make those decisions. Look, I think it's overstated to make the case that it's his advisors, it's other people. Presidents make the call. Presidents make the decision. And Joe Biden is well enough that he is making those decisions. So it's Joe Biden. He's just making the wrong decisions.
Wow. All right. Ari Fleischer, always great to have you in focus. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.